At the European Council meeting, a €90 billion so-called interest-free loan for Ukraine was approved, which, according to French President Emmanuel Macron, will be used to finance Kiev's military efforts in 2026 to 2027. One might expect that an enlightened Europe, which constantly speaks about the need for a peaceful settlement, would invest this money in Ukraine's economic development, especially considering that they themselves destroyed Ukraine's statehood. However, this is not part of the plans of the European Union leadership in Brussels. They want bloodshed. According to Ukrainian officials, Ukraine will only repay its debt if Russia pays so-called reparations. Any sane person understands that this will never happen. Perhaps the European Union should listen to what its own protégé has said in Brussels and realize that they will never recover this money, neither the €90 billion nor the other loans. The Western European patrons of the Kiev regime, primarily from the European Union and Britain, are not thinking about peace at all. They are thinking about the money they intend to transfer to Kiev and then recover through corrupt schemes rather than official donations. For this reason, they continue to escalate tensions with Russia and prolong hostilities to the last Ukrainian. Their sole interest is money. Security forces in Ukraine have reportedly been instructed to tighten control measures and issue around 2 million summonses by early 2026. In practice, this amounts to de facto general mobilization in Ukraine. The building of the Russian Consulate General in Gdansk, which ceased operations on December 22nd in accordance with Polish authorities' demands, is the property of the Russian Federation. This property was transferred to the Soviet Union for indefinite and free use. We recommend that hotheads in Poland carefully consider the consequences of any attempts to seize Russian real estate. There are already many examples demonstrating how Russia responds to such illegal and provocative actions, and how painful those responses can be. We are also witnessing lawlessness in the Caribbean Sea, where long-forgotten practices of illegal seizure of foreign property, piracy, raiding, and banditry are resurfacing. From the perspective of international maritime law, such behavior violates the principle of freedom of navigation enshrined in Article 87 of the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea. We strongly condemn these actions and call for stability, law, and order in maritime affairs. I would like to confirm once again that the Russian embassy in Caracas and Russian specialists in Venezuela are operating as usual. Slow but steady progress is being made in negotiations with the United States on a settlement in Ukraine. At the same time, these efforts are being undermined by extremely harmful and even malicious attempts by a group of countries, primarily Western European states, seeking to torpedo diplomatic progress. In dialogue with the American administration, we consistently urge our counterparts to actively oppose this destructive course. Russia remains ready to continue working within the framework established at the highest level in Anchorage. Russia has always been open to cooperation, partnership, and friendship. Our only condition has been respect for international law, which includes both legal norms and moral principles. These include mutual respect, non-interference in internal affairs, and recognition of state sovereignty. It is Western Europe that must revise its approach, though unfortunately we see no willingness to do so. Russia remains prepared to formalize relevant commitments in a written, legally binding international agreement. Its specific format can be determined through negotiations, but it must be a full-fledged international legal instrument. Unlike many Western states that have chosen military, political, and economic pressure, Russia remains open to serious and equal dialogue. These Western states bear full responsibility for escalating the situation and for missed opportunities to ensure European and global security. Regarding the incident involving the vessel Adler, Swedish customs officials unsuccessfully attempted to pressure the ship's captain into signing certain documents. On December 21st, the vessel was ultimately allowed to leave Swedish territorial waters unhindered. This was not force majeure, but rather what could be described as farce majeure staged by the Swedish authorities. Their actions violated several norms of international maritime law. We hope Stockholm will act responsibly in the future and refrain from steps that could increase regional tensions. An apology would be appropriate, as these actions interfered with the crew's work and disrupted the ship's route. Unfortunately, the situation in the Baltic region remains tense. Near Russia's borders, including the Kaliningrad region, NATO member states continue to unjustifiably increase military activity. Aggressive offensive scenarios against Russia are being rehearsed, and sanctions pressure on Russian economic operators is intensifying. Some Western politicians openly speak about turning the Baltic Sea into an internal sea of the alliance. These fantasies about blockading or forcibly seizing the Kaliningrad region are reckless and dangerous. Such statements reflect irresponsibility and verge on political insanity.